Welcome to Bunnyfish Crafts. I'm your host Heather, known as Bunnyfish on Ravelry, Instagram, and YouTube. Today is Monday, the 24th of August, 2015, and this is episode 143, Single Socks. Grab some sticks and string and come sit with me. This week was good. Mara and I took advantage of Gabriel being at school one day, and we walked to the library. It would probably be a 20-minute walk for me. It was 40 minutes approximately to get there, and then I would say about an hour and 10 minutes to get home, because when we went, I took a backpack, she took a backpack, and when we went, hers was empty and mine only had 3 things in it. And then when we came home, hers was pretty full and mine was very full. We were going because I had things on hold. I had 4 things on hold. I didn't think about the fact that one of the things that I had on hold was this book, which is quite heavy, and I had an audiobook, a hardcover book, and then a graphic novel. So my backpack was quite heavy. Plus, I also grabbed some things for Gabriel, and yeah, my backpack was heavy. But Mara's backpack, I was fine with it. I wasn't that concerned. Oh, Amara and I have been eating Starburst this morning. And I just couldn't help but see all that red going on in my face. So that's what that was. Anyway, she is not used to carrying her own backpack because she picked out, I think, she picked out 5 books. And one of them I knew was something that she would never look at again. She just wanted it to prolong the library experience. So I didn't check it out. But so she had 4 books in her backpack and she was like, this is heavy. And I was like, well, yeah. Next time you should consider what we're getting out from the library. Anyway, it was a good week. Oh, also, my phone died. So I was phoneless from Monday to Thursday. I guess it was a good thing I was on vacation and didn't really have to go anywhere that wasn't home, but I just felt so naked. I realized that I did not have technology like this for a very long time, but now that I have it, I don't know how to function properly without it. Like, people used to go places all the time without cell phones, random places, and they didn't freak out about it. But I was like, but what if something happens? What if Gabriel gets sick and I'm not home to take the phone call? Doesn't matter, they have Steve's phone number. But still, I was like, nah, I don't know. But now I have a new phone, so that's kind of cool. Anyway, more interesting things. The knit along is officially the Finish Your Frog It for what is next month? September, October, November. So it's a 3-month knit along, and there will be a tag for Ravelry or Instagram, and it is BPH for Bunnyfish, FOF for Finish Your Frog, and then 15. The numbers 1 and 5. So BPH FOF 15. And I took a photo of my prospective things a few days ago. That photo had 9 active works in progress, 4 unfinished objects, so things that I started ever ago but haven't worked on in a while, 12 projects that I want to start and finish in that time frame, and there are 2 other projects that I have on my list that I just forgot to put in the photo. So that's my plan, but it's not my official starting photo because I took it about a week before the knit along starts, and I'm hoping that 2 of those projects will be finished by that time, and another couple should have significant progress. More than a couple will have progress, but a couple should have significant visual progress. So yeah, that'll be popping up on, September 1st or August 31st. Yes, 31 days in August, I'm pretty sure. I don't know, I'm not going to count it. So anyway, knit along. tag BPH FOF 15. Anything finished or frogged between the 1st of September and the 30th of November. Yeah, I think that's right. I don't know how many days are in months. I'm too tired right now. Will count. All the rules are in the thread. I'm not going to go through it. I will just refer you to the knit along thread, and I'll put a link to it in the show notes for the chatter. So post your pictures, go chat, go plan for what you might want to finish or frog during that time period. I finished objects for you this week. I'm super excited. The first one I'm not going to show you. You'll just have to take it on faith that they're finished. My design mitts, they are blocking right now, and I don't want to bother them. So you'll see them soon though. The pattern will be released soon. The second, why don't I tell you about them just a little bit? So they're mitts. They're knit on US size 1 2.25 millimeter needles, and I knit them using Daisy Knits Hardy 2.0 base in the Robin's Egg color, which is this lovely light blue tonal color. Super pretty. My second finished object is something that you didn't see before. It is called the Shroom Hat by what is your name? Lee Juvan. It is a free nitty pattern, and it knits up super duper fast. I used the Premier Serenity Chunky in the Stormy colorway, so it's this lovely blue and brown. You do the brim on US 9s and then the rest of the hat on US 11s, so it goes ridiculously fast. When we were walking to the library, I did the first 3 inches of the brim while we were walking, and then I finished the last inch of it while we were sitting around. Thankfully, I had brought another project with me because I didn't bring the other needles, so I couldn't start on the top portion. And this is what the hat looks like. Kind of a slouchy, lacy, super quick knit. I think it's super cute, and I kind of want one for myself. I knit this on commission for somebody at work, so this is for her, but that's this hat. I don't think I have any comments on it. I made some changes because the brim is in a 1x1 ribbing, and then the top part, this lace is over a multiple of 5. So I edited it to make it over a multiple of 4, which meant that I was doing more stitches at a time. So mine is more poofy on top. And then I had to edit the decreases a little bit, but I like the overall effect. I liked the effect of the actual Shroom hat, the one that I didn't modify, but I was lazy and didn't want to have to think on that first setup round. So I just did this instead. And it worked up super quick. So I did the brim in one day, and then instead of immediately going back to it the next day, or that day, I did everything but the decreases the next day. And then I did the decreases the day after that. But I could have easily knocked this all out in one afternoon. Easily. While walking. So there's that. I also finished, super excited. I finished the Zipper Lexicon socks. Yay! They are finished. And they've been blocked. And I think that they are pretty. So, you know how there's that square that I hate? Or that hexagon that I hate? Totally did not cut it out for this toe. But I actually don't mind it because it makes the second sock match the first sock, which has that hexagon that I don't like. So I'm not mad that I didn't cut it out. I was already to like this last bit. So what is that? 5 rounds or so to go before I realized, and I was like, I'm not ripping back that toe. It can just stay how it is. It's just the toe. It's fine. So those are finished. and I made them only ankle height because I didn't want to run out of yarn, and I would have if I had done another round to make them a little bit longer. I could have made the cuffs longer, but I didn't. Whatever. The yarn is unknown. I'm kind of glad it's unknown because I don't want it again. I kind of wish I had the tag though, so I would know to avoid it in the future. It was that type of yarn where it's got like a nylon cord in the middle that everything's wrapped around, and so the yarn would get bunched up a little bit sometimes. So I'd have to take a moment and try to like redistribute the plies around the nylon cord and try not to get too big of a bump as I was reincorporating all that extra yarn into it. And I had to be really careful with the tension that I was holding the yarn at, which in turn made my row gauge off. So this toe is actually much shallower than it's written to be in the pattern. There's an option to take out a round in the repeat for the toe, which I did because otherwise the toe would have never closed up in time. What else about the yarn? It also had that color that I didn't like. But I don't know what the yarn is, so I can't even say, hey, avoid this yarn. I just didn't like it. But I do like the finished socks. I think that they turned out very nicely. I love this pattern, which is Zipper Lexicon by Kristen Hall. Brilliant pattern. It's really, the first round, the setup round, is kind of confusing. You kind of have to take it on faith. When you get to the heel, again, you kind of have to take it on faith. But the heel worked really well, fits really well, and the pattern's just really smart. It's very, very well written. I've made 2 of the 3 sizes. I've made the medium size and the large size, and both sizes worked out really, really well. Maybe someday I'll make the small size because my sister, she has small feet. So maybe someday. We'll see. Also, all socks forever worked on US size 1 2.25 millimeter needles. I'm going to forget, but the socks that I finished, the Zipper Lexicons, those are US size 1. All the socks I'm working on today are in US size 1. I own US size 0 and size 2, but I don't really use them for socks. I haven't tried the zeros for socks except for, what did I use them for? I bought them specifically for a sample maybe. I don't remember. Oh, for mitts. I haven't even used them on socks at all. Maybe someday, but not yet. And I used to knit on size 2, but my gauge has loosened up a little bit. So now I'm on size 1. I worked on the Thank You Sarah socks by Heidi Nick. It is knit out of Leading Men Fiber Arts Showcase base in Sprightly Endeavors. So you might notice something a little different. This is where I was last week, and I've done about a pattern repeat, and I did this yesterday because I had not worked on it almost all week. I think I had done a round or 2 during the week, and then yesterday I was like, you know what, this is ridiculous. It will probably go much faster if I'm only working on 1. So I put 1 on DPNs to hold it, and I started working on the other, and voila, a whole pattern repeat in a day because I was only working on 1. That's in my kitchen counter crafter bag. Yeah. Much more enjoy the pattern working it only 1 at a time because there's actual visual progress for all of that work, all that effort that I was putting in. And now you can actually see what's going on. So lovely cable detail, texture and cables on the back. I'm enjoying it much more now. And I really wanted to have the legs done this week, and then I didn't work on them. And I really want these socks to be finished by the end of the month, but I don't know if I don't think that's a realistic goal at this point because it's a lot of detail. But I think that I can finish this first one by the end of the month. And the second one's already started, so there's no excuse for second sock syndrome, right? I worked on, oh, I don't know where it is. Hold on. Oh, yes, I do. I worked on the Frankenstieg, which I am carrying in this lovely bag that I got when I was pregnant with Gabriel. It came with formula and bottles. I worked on the Frankenstieg socks. This is using Lorraine's yarn. So, Lorraine's yarn. And just for, S&Gs in case you haven't been here, this is what my yarn looks like. I did the cuffs for hers, and I've started the leg portion for hers. So I will continue to work away on the leg portion. I cast on yesterday. Have I talked? I'm sure I've talked about this before, but I'll say it again. I usually cast on and work the first round on something and then put it away until the next day, because that first round, the setup part, I hate so much. So I usually start something, get it through the setup, and then I'm like, okay, done. If it's toe-up socks, I do the toe, and I'm like, okay, that's enough. I'm done. It's usually how it works for me. But I will be working on that. And so I've made progress. The Frankenstieg pattern is by the Sarina Socks, and it is for socks that you knit in 5 parts and then do some steeking, do some grafting, do some mattress stitch, and voila, a pair of socks. And myself and 2 other women from my knitting group are collaborating on 3 pairs of socks. So we will each end up with a pair of socks at the end, but we will each have knitted a portion on the socks. On top of that, I started 2 projects. I started a pattern called Irregular Stripes by Emma Julie, and it is a chevron pattern, but the spaces between increases and decreases are not the same for each portion. I'm knitting this on, using the Penguin Soup Fairy Sock base, and this is the Wild Style color. So it is sparkly. I don't know if you can see it on that side. Maybe on this side? Oh yeah, you can see it a little better on that side. And I am past the heel. It works up pretty quickly. It's not completely mindless. I do have to look on, it's a free pattern. I have to look on the pattern rows, but then on the rest rows I don't. And I only have to look just a very little bit on the pattern rows because there's huge decreases and then lifted increases. But it works up really, really fast. Obviously, since I started this sometime last week, I think on Thursday, maybe not. Yeah, I think on Thursday. Is that right? No, I can find out. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. This is 5 days worth of progress because I do 2 of the color stripes worth every day, and one day I just tacked on the heel because I was like, why not? So this is 5 days worth of progress. So was that Thursday? Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday? Nope, it was Wednesday. It's a really nice pattern. It's written so that you can mirror it if you want to on the other sock, which I'm going to do. And the reason why I'm working it one at a time is because instead of magic looping like I normally would, this is one of my magic looping needles. It's a ChowGoo red lace needle, 32 inches. It's my preferred cable. Some people like 40 because it's longer, and I do work with a 40 for magic looping. That's what I was using for the Sarah socks, was a 40. But I find that it can be a little too much cable management for me. So I like 32 length. The reason why I'm working this one at a time instead of two at a time is because I wanted the stripe sequence to match. I didn't want it to go in opposite order, but I didn't want to split up the cake of yarn into two cakes because I'm not trying to use all of the yarn in these socks. I want them to be like normal sock length, but I also really just lazy. And if I split the cake, then there will be two random leftovers instead of one big leftover that I can make barn raising squares and hex puffs and stuff out of. I don't know, it seemed like too much work. So, and also I wouldn't be this far on a sock. So that is kind of the nice thing about working socks one at a time, is you get to see a lot of progress all at once. And I guess I'm just in that sort of mood. So hopefully no second sock syndrome for me. I like doing it both ways though, one at a time or two at a time. I'm very versatile for socks. Toe up, cuff down, both are good. Single or two at a time, both are good. Different things have different uses, you know? And I started another sock, which is also being worked singly on my 9-inch circular, which is, I think this is a clover. Yeah, this is a clover 9-inch circular. I kind of want to get I think Haya Haya and Chaogu both make 9-inch circulars, and I kind of want to get one someday. But I only ever work one sock on a 9-inch circular because 9-inch circulars can be a little hard on your hands. It's just a different method. You hold the needles differently. And did you notice that all three of my socks are worked in different methods right now? I have a magic loop, I have DPNs, and I have a 9-inch circular. Gotta change it up a little. And I like all three of those methods. This sock is Child Tube Sock Recipe, which is my pattern. And my plan, you guys need to hold me to it, is by the end of September to have that paid for version released with the measurements and stuff. Get on me if I'm not talking about working on it after the first week of September. So not next podcast, but the following podcast. If I'm not talking about it, please remind me, gently or not so gently. The yarn is 716 knit 716 sock in the colorway Television Counts as a Place. It is from the Daria Club, and it is the yarn that Josh designed the Mystic Spirals out of. I have finished the first set of ribbing, and I have just barely started the second set. You can see that right there. I'm using this cute little stitch marker that was attached to the yarn for the club. It's a guitar. Do you want to see my other cute stitch marker that I'm using? I have a zombie stitch marker. I need to go check if my daughter is running around naked outside. I'll be right back. I also worked on some spinning. I worked on the Hippie Penguin Fibers Superwash BFL and Carnival Bears, the Mirla Fiber Arts Bat. I worked on the Painted Tiger Eventide colorway, and I'm not even going to show you a picture. This is too exciting for a picture. Look at that. I am into a different color. I'm no longer just in yellow. Okay, so this is a transition area, and I worked most of it, so I don't know if you can see, but the yellow has this dark purple splotch on it, and the chunk was probably about this long. No, maybe like this long. I don't know. There was a chunk where it was yellow with this dark purple on it. You can kind of see that dark purple also on the pink, but this yellow transitions into this really lovely pink color, so I'm into a new color. I'm super excited about it. I'm super excited because, you know, yellow is not my favorite, and this is not a bad yellow. It could have been a bad yellow, but it was still yellow, and now it'll be this really pretty pink, which is not in my normal pink range, but I'm kind of enjoying it. So yeah, I made all that progress and I'm really excited. Okay, I'm going to show you a picture anyway. But I wanted you to see the fiber in person because I'm really excited about having made it into this transition section. And then I also worked on this. Last week, I'm pretty sure that I had the first single on here and I had to wind it off. So I wound it off and I started on the very first of the small bumps, but I didn't get very far. You can see it's not very full. So this probably also won't be finished by this month. I think that I set really high standards for myself this month because I did so much during Tour de Fleece. But now that it's not Tour de Fleece, I still really, really want to spin, but I don't want to spin as much as I was spinning during Tour de Fleece. So I probably won't finish it this month. I think it's much more realistic to have, to do a little bit of work on all of my spinning projects that I'm currently working on that I enjoy, to keep doing that in little increments. So the way that I'm spinning right now is 5 minutes a day, approximately, on any of the three that I usually show in pictures. Any of those three, and I usually have them in rotation. I don't work the same fiber 2 days in a row so that they all get some progress because I'm enjoying all of them and they're all different types of spinning. The bat is thicker and it's a different prep than the other two, and the Carnival Bears is on a Turkish spindle instead of a top whirl spindle. So everything's a little bit different. So I get that variety, but everything gets worked on instead of languishing for forever. And then I was doing like a half an hour on the jaws, and it was too much time spinning. I really like the spinning, but I think that half an hour is not a realistic goal for me right now. You know, crafting should be what you want it to be. Everything shouldn't feel like quota. And I was making it too much of, I really want to get this done by the end of the month. Well, I don't need to get it done. Nothing's going to happen if I don't finish it by the end of the month. So new plan is to finish it by the end of next month. But still put in, 5 to 10 minutes of spinning every day until I'm like, ooh, I should spin again. Just so that it doesn't sit there languishing, because I didn't spin on it a lot this week. A very little bit. Is that all my works in progress? Let me look at my list. It is. That's everything that I worked on this week. Except, of course, modular projects. So I started my next barn raising square. It's number 38. But I didn't get very far because I started it yesterday. I was like, did I really not work on a barn raising square this week? I had the yarn pulled out and I had the needles because I pull out my yarn for my modular projects on Monday right after I record the podcast as I'm editing and cleaning up, because it's something that I don't have to be super focused on. I can set it aside and do some editing and then pick it back up and not be like, where was I in this project? So it had been sitting there all week, but I didn't spend a lot of time in my craft room. I spent a lot of time painting around the house and being out with Mara and hanging out with Gabriel at night, and I just didn't spend a lot of time in here, so I didn't pick it up. Anyway, this is the beginning of barn raising square number 38. I plan to finish this week and also do square number 39, but maybe I'll get behind. Who knows? I actually started using this yarn, which I think is a Desert Vista Dye Works colorway, but I'm not sure. And it is these stripes. I started it in a hexapuff because I was like, oh, I don't know about that orange and I don't know about that blue. But then I started knitting the hexapuff and I wasn't using the orange or the blue. I was using this gorgeous green that you saw, which goes into this other really, really lovely green. And the hexapuff was only this dark green before I ripped it out because I wanted it for barn raising square. So now I'm going to use this to make a barn raising square. And by the time I get to the blue and the orange, it will be fine. I won't even care because it's going to have this gorgeous green in the middle. But again, I didn't work on it very much. I did, however, make 10 hexapuffs because the 7 for the daily and then 3 finished objects. So I'm kind of proud of myself for keeping up on the celebratory hexapuffs recently. I've been doing a really good job about it. Okay, so I was using the tail end of the opal yarn. So this top part is one scrap, this is another scrap, and I think that this brown is also opal, but maybe not. I think it is. So if it is, I have just what's left over of this brown scrap, which is not very much. So I used it in that. That's my opal. And then this is a hexapuff using the rest of the yarn that Lorraine had given me. And then I ran out, so I used yarn that Claire had given me. So this is a knitting group hexapuff. This is using the last of the little tiny ball that I had from Gabriel's Christmas socks. It's the Osterman Step in colorway 09, I think. I was using the ball from when I cut out yarn so that I could match up stripes. So that's the last of it. And I actually had to attach right here yarn from the actual leftover ball, which I'll be using to make Barn Raising Square from before I split it up into mini skeins or make hexapuffs or whatever. So that's the last bit of that. This week was a lot about using last little bits. Case in point, I had this orange, so I used up the last little bit, and then I used yarn from Carrie to finish it, and I also used the yarn from Carrie to make another one. I think I have just a little bit of this sparkly brown left over, but maybe not. No, it doesn't look like it, because these are my leftovers from my leftover squares. So I must have used all of that sparkle brown, except if it shows up again, and then you'll know that I'm making it up. But this is that leftover bit of brown that I think might be opal, but I'm not sure. Leftover bit from Claire, and none of these are big enough to make a full hexapuff, so I'm going to set these aside and wait until I have other scraps. And then this is from this. This is the first celebratory hexapuff I made, which is just a hexapuff made normal and then turned inside out before grafting. And then this is Miss Babs, and it was a sample from the ZK in, it's a silk lace base, but it doesn't feel like a lace, and it didn't really knit up smaller than my fingering weight hexapuffs. So, I mean, I guess a little bit, but not really. And this is yarn from the ZK, and I don't think I have much left of this at all. I think this is the end of the skein, of that mini skein. And I made 2 celebratory hexapuffs. I didn't really have enough of any of the small leftovers to make 2 more, so I dipped into the yarn that Haley gave me when she was visiting. So this is, I think she said this was Malabrigo, and I don't know what this is. Probably, if I had to guess, I would say probably Knit Picks Felici. It feels kind of like that, but I'm not sure. Yeah, and these both just have 3 purl ridges on them for texture, for celebratory, since Gabriel really likes the textural different ones. I have a new thing this week. I went and visited my best friend on Saturday. If you are on Instagram, you might have seen a picture of us out at lunch. So I went and visited her, and she went and visited her mom in New Jersey a couple weeks ago, and her mom sent back presents for me and the kids because I used to live with her family when I was in college. I lived with her family. So Mara got, oh, it's right here. I didn't know she had still left it on my desk. So Mara got this lovely Rapunzel Barbie that she has managed to not cut the hair off of. She's had her for like 3 whole days and Rapunzel still has her hair. It's pretty impressive because Mara likes to cut things all the time. Mara got a Rapunzel and Gabriel got 2 Transformer cars based off of the dinosaur Transformers. So those are pretty cool. And I have these collage square needles, double pointed, and they are 5 inches, which is shorter than any double points I've used so far, but I'm willing to give them a try. And that is the package. I haven't tried them yet because I just got them on Saturday. I was tempted to change to using to them for this, but I wanted to show them on the podcast, and I know that my Haya needles I can knit with very well, and I didn't want to struggle and have tension issues with a new type of needle because I don't know what my tension is going to be like on the square needles. It could be the same. It might not make a difference, but it might change my gauge. And since I was knitting on Haya circulars, going to Haya double points, I knew that my gauge wasn't going to have a huge shift and look very, very different from where I changed over. So I'll be using these in the near-ish future. I don't know what for, but I'll be using those and letting you know what I think about them. I'm pretty excited about that. She bought them for herself and she tried them and she didn't like them. So that's why she gave them to me, because she knows that I knit. And my best friend and her sister both knit, but not avidly. So by proxy, by being part of the family, I get third choice, but that's okay. I don't mind. I still get to try these cool needles, which I've been wanting to try for a while, but I just haven't taken the plunge and invested in them, and now I have some, so that's pretty exciting. Other than painting and doing home repairs, did I tell you I fixed a toilet? I'm super proud of myself. It was a really easy fix. The flap needed to be changed. It might not be completely fixed. I'm not 100% certain. It's in the kids' bathroom, and I haven't noticed it running, but I also haven't been in the kids' bathroom very much since it's been changed. So I might be changing out the other interior parts, but I'm not sure. But I did change out that part, and I was very proud of myself for figuring it out and not breaking anything. I'm actually really, really handy, but the first time that I fix something that I haven't fixed before, I'm always like, what if I break it worse? But I didn't, and it works better. So other than all that, what I've really been doing this week is reading. I've been listening to Voyager. I've been listening to Voyager by Diana Gabaldon in my vehicle, and it is the audiobook that I had to pick up. It's in 2 separate packets for the audiobook because there are 36 CDs, and they picked probably the best spot to cut off for the break between packages of CDs. Voyager's the 3rd book in the Outlander series, and I liked the 1st book. The 2nd book I was kind of like, I don't know. It was okay. I'm really, really enjoying the 3rd one. I like the 3rd one so much better than I liked the 2nd one. So if you have like a moment of about the 2nd book, I would give the 3rd book a try. I've also been listening to Dracula, which I'm listening to as a playaway. So that is the, that's what it looks like. That's actual size on the front cover. And it's just this little compact thing that has the story on it. You have to supply your own headphones. There's a battery in it when you get it from the library, but if the battery dies, you have to replace it, which is fine. And it's really, really cool. I really like having it. It's very convenient because, yeah, I can listen to things on my phone, but then that drains my phone battery and I have to worry about all of that. And I am not super great about charging my phone. Not as good as I should be, because I like to mess with my phone too much. if I have it plugged in, it has to be wherever it's plugged in at, and I can't look at Instagram instantly, or especially if I'm not in front of my computer, I can't Google something because I love research so, so much. And I like to know everything about everything, or a little bit about everything, really. Like if I hear something, I'm like, ooh, what's that? Then I immediately want to look it up. Okay, let's start with things that I finished. What I finished and don't have with me is The Good Neighbors Kin, which I was reading last week, but I just started. It's a graphic novel, and it's by Holly Black and the artist, whose name I don't remember. Sorry, artist. But I will talk about it later because I got the second book, the second graphic novel. So I'll be talking about that later at some point. So I finished that. I finished Fairy Wars by Herbie Brennan. Both of those have already gone back to the library. They were both really good. I enjoyed them a lot. I will be reading the second book in both series. I already have the second book of the graphic novel, and I have the second book of Fairy Wars not on hold yet. The library has this really cool thing that when you're placing a hold, you can put a date in to place things on hold. And I looked at what I had checked out from the library already and what I already had in my holds queue, and I think I put it a month from now is when I want it to go on hold because it's not at my branch of the library, so I would have it shipped to me anyway. But it's really convenient to have that feature where I can put things on hold but not have them go on hold until a certain date, especially for things that are in but that I don't necessarily want to read right now. I just know that I want to read it in the future, but I don't want to forget that I want to read it. It's very handy. The library is so handy. Technology is so handy. Okay, those are the things that I finished that I don't have with me. And then things that I finished this week, started and finished that you didn't even know I was reading. I, Dracula, which is Dracula retold kind of using iPhones and tablets and email. It's kind of interesting. I kind of enjoy it. It's a very simplified version of Dracula. It's only 150-ish pages, and a lot of those pages are this, cell phone screens. So there's not a lot of content. Like, I think this one, yeah. So there's not a lot of content going on there. So it was a really quick book. I read it over 2 nights at bedtime. I don't usually read a ton before bed, but yeah, this is super quick. It wasn't bad. It was an interesting, it was an interesting break from the actual Dracula, which I'm listening to. And there were some things that happened in actual Dracula, which I guess I totally phased out on because I was like, I didn't know this happened in actual Dracula. And Steve was like, oh yeah, that happened, blah, blah, blah. And I was like, I must have phased out on that. So it was a nice kind of refresher. I already know the story of Dracula, so it wasn't like there were any spoilers going on in there, but it was just little details. Also, I enjoy this purely for the Easter eggs in it. So let's see, let me show you in particular. Where is it? Oh, so at one point, someone mentions a food, and so Mina, I think Jonathan, mentions a food, and Mina looks up recipes, and then she looks up catering. So the catering is Bathory Catering. Love that. And then the search engine is called Ask Vlad. Love it. There are some other things in there that I really liked too, but those were the things that I found first. I also read Solus Rem. So this is by Gail Carriger, and it is based on the Solus novel. But it's a graphic novel. So I read it in a day, less than a day. I don't know. I read it over an hour or something. It's very good. Pretty true to the story. Obviously, it's a graphic novel, so it doesn't have all of the everything that the book had, but it was a nice little refresher on the story, and I enjoyed the story in the first place, so it was nice to read that again. I started and finished Unraveled, which is the last book in the Crueler, is it the Crueler series? Trilogy? Let's look. The trilogy is called Cruel World, and this is book 3. It might not be a trilogy. It might be a series, but I think it's a trilogy. I don't know where they would go from here, really, unless it was like a post, like a different main character, the next generation sort of thing. I don't see how they could follow the main character, whose name I have forgotten right now. Adelise. I don't see how they could follow her and have it be a compelling story. It was pretty well wrapped up at the end. It wasn't a happy ending, but it wasn't a terrible ending either, in keeping with the post-apocalyptic sort of thing that was going on. Sorry, there's a child going in my desk and doing as she pleases, which I don't really care, so I'm not stopping her. And then I started, but did not finish, The Darkest Part of the Forest, which is a book by Holly Black, and you know I love her. So I'm on page 45 out of 300 something? 320-ish. 320-ish. So I haven't gotten very far. Greatly enjoying it. The story takes place in Fairfold. I think that's what the city, yes, Fairfold is the city. And it follows Hazel. And Hazel has a brother named Ben. And Ben's best friend is Jack, who is not human. He's a changeling. He was left in place of Carter. And this is all spoiler alert. I'm really sorry, but it's only the first 40 pages wherein any of this happens, so I'm going to tell you about it. Carter's mom realized that Jack was not Carter, and so called forth Jack's mom to give Carter back, as you do with the fair folk, and then she kept both babies because she was like, well, if you were willing to trade your child at all, you don't deserve to have him. So Carter and Jack both live with Carter's family, and Jack is part of their family. Fairfold is surrounded by the fair folk, and they kind of do as they please. It's a really big tourist town. People come in spring and summer, and every season 1 or 2 people disappear or are found dead because of the fair folk, but nobody outside of the town seems to notice. And anyway, the major attraction is there is a creature, a guy kind of, in a glass coffin. He has horns. He looks like a prince. He's very attractive. Never decomposes. Never wakes up. And that's where the story starts. So I'm really interested in it. I obviously like things that have to deal with fairies. I obviously like Holly Black, so this book is going to be fantastic, I'm sure. I look forward to reading it. It's going to be really good. And of course, the main characters, aside from Jack obviously being part of the Fae, Ben and Hazel have both been affected by the Fae. through, well, first of all, just living in the town, but also through bargaining with them and trading with them. So yeah, that's going to become pretty interesting pretty quickly, I think. That's all I have for you this week. I hope you made something fantastic with your 6 and string, and I will see you next week. Bye!